In Indian philosophy, there are two main schools. One is called Astika schools, and Nastika. And the word, literally, Astika means it is so. That means Vedas are true. It is as it is described in the Vedas. And the Nastika schools, they are opposite. They say it is not so. So the Nastikas are mainly three schools: the Jains, the Buddhists, and the Charvakas. These are considered atheistic schools. Although you hear Jains and Buddhists speaking about God, but because they reject the Vedas, they're considered atheistic. And the Astika schools are six, and we covered these schools like 2 years ago. And they are Nyaya, Vaisheshika, they go in pairs usually. Nyaya, Vaisheshika, then Sankhya in yoga, then Karma Mimamsa and Vedanta. So all of those schools, the Vedic schools, they accept the Vedas, and at least nominally they will say that the Vedas are correct. Of course, the first four of them, they have been criticized by some acharyas, Vaishnava acharyas, that they accept the Vedas only whenever it suits their purposes. And the last two, Karma Mimamsa or Purva Mimamsa, and Vedanta or Uttara Mimamsa, which means, anyway, we'll go into this. Anyway, they accept the Vedas thoroughly, so they are considered in this sense higher than the first four. But anyway, all of these six schools, they share certain premises, and they all agree that there is a soul. The soul is spiritual, it transmigrates from body to body, and then there is a law of karma, and the soul is suffering inside this material body, and the goal of philosophy is liberation. They all agree on this. They agree also on different other things. For example, the Nyayas, or logic, the logicians, they have developed a certain discipline of thinking and reasoning, and all schools accept this. So Vaisheshikas, they have developed this atomistic theory, atomist theory. Is it? Anyway, the theory of atoms, and Bhagavatam also accept this. The Sankhyas are famous for their contribution is mainly connected to the three gunas. This is their topic, the three gunas of material nature, the three modes. And also the evolution of Prakriti. They systematically study and analyze the material creation. Something we accept also. We'll see soon in the Bhagavatam classes. We are going to study Kapila's Sankhya philosophy, and if you compare it with the Sankhyas, with the atheistic Sankhya, basically they have basically the same analysis of the material nature. Of course, the conclusion is different. And then the yoga, everybody is doing some kind of yoga. Even the Buddhists do yoga. So yoga is very well established. Everybody is, all these schools, they accept yoga as bona fide. And Karma Mimamsa developed what is called hermeneutics, or the science of interpretation of the Veda, which is also accepted by everybody. Our Acharya is also accepted. And what we're going to say now about Panchanga-nyaya is part of this science of presenting the Shastra and interpretation of the Shastra.
All the schools accept it?
Yeah. The Astika schools accept it.
The Astika schools.
Yes. And in Chaitanya Charitamrita, there is one purport where Srila Prabhupada says, he's quoting, I think, Bhaktivedanta Saraswati, and he says that nothing can be accepted as a real fact unless it goes through these 5 stages of logic. which we're going to study now. Panchanga-nyaya, Pancha means 5, Anga means limbs, and Nyaya means, in this sense, logic. The fivefold logic, or way of reasoning. And in the beginning, these 6 schools, they were like different faculties of a modern university. There were not any controversies between them. Of course, in the course of time, Kali Yuga advanced, and Kali Yuga being what it is, the age of quarrel, then the different representatives of these groups, they started to find faults in one another's philosophy, and there were these disagreements. But originally, they are meant actually to supplement one another and to lead to the conclusion, Vedanta, which is the end of knowledge, which is the most perfect system of Vedic philosophy. And this is why all these things are accepted widely in the Indian philosophy, like Panchanga-nyaya. All right, so Panchanga-nyaya then. So you're going to have to write down some things if you're not familiar. The Varsha Prabhu here already knows, so he doesn't need to write down. So there are 2 types of. There is one Panchanga-nyaya, but there are 2 varieties. We're going to cover both of them. It depends on the circumstance and the situation, which one you choose to use. Usually what Maharaj always says is that the first one is more appropriate to use when you present your presentation on written text, when there is no physical opponent. And the second one is more appropriate when you're facing somebody. You have to explain to him something, and he has doubts. So the first one, which is more appropriate for writing, is as follows. The first part is called pratigya. This is how we start our Bhagavatam chapters. Also, pratigya or thesis.
How do you spell it?
P-R...
Pratigya.
Pratigya. P-R-A-T-I-J-N-A.
Yeah.
Pratigya.
Pratigya. Bengali pronunciation is pratigya. So we follow Prabhupada.
And that's the first one, is it?
Yes, it's thesis in English.
Thesis.
Thesis. Yes, it is short, should be short, 1 or 2 sentences. And pratigya is the statement you want to make in a nutshell. What you want to prove, what you want to establish. This is why when Maharaj is getting questions, sometimes when the devotees elaborate on the question, he says, okay, first have to present your question in 1 sentence. If you cannot do this, don't bother asking. Think about it, that means the question is not clear to yourself. First, clear the question to yourself and then you can ask. So pratigya should be very short. And should be your statement. Then the second one is called hetu. Second one is called hetu.
H-E-T-U.
Hetu.
Hetu.
H-E-T-U.
That means
Hetu.
hetu. That means reasons. What are the reasons? The proofs for your statement. Clear?
Mm-hmm.
A very simple system. Then the third one is called udaharana. And that means examples. You give your examples. Why is explaining the reasons. How? You give examples. How this is true. From practical experience. And then the fourth one is called...
You can ask question at the end? Or
Yeah, you can ask now also.
No. When you speak about example, is it like you select one example and you develop, or you can take maybe 2 examples?
Yeah, you can make many examples.
This means there is no special...
According to time, place, circumstance.
Yes.
It's like how Maharaj sometimes will give an example, and then he'll say, does that make sense? And if people look a bit blank, he'll try another one. Mm-hmm. And then sometimes he'll look up and say, how about this? So they're like examples, right?
It should be appropriate to the audience.
Yes.
Yeah.
But when it is like for writing, you can say the audience is mainly ourselves.
Hmm?
When we are in writing,
Yes, the audience is...
it's mainly maybe the person we are going to send, but it's mainly myself. I feel myself.
Mhm.
No,
No, but yourself. Okay, if it's you, then you have to see what is, for example, for your mind to be convinced.
yes.
If it's about somebody else, you have to see his situation. Like Maharaj, when he gives answers questions from Mataji's side, he always tries to say something about taking care of kids and cooking and stuff like this. Sorry if I offended someone.
Yeah, me totally. I'm a winner.
The steam comes from here.
So it is the same principle when it is by writing or by speaking. Like you think that Maharaj is using this thing when he's presenting, when we're in class.
Same principle.
Same principle.
Principles are always the same. Details can...
It's similar. With writing, you want to use as few examples as possible while covering everything that you're claiming in the first two sections. So in other words, you don't want to use a similar example in writing that's covering the same exact point because it's not necessary. But if there are 2 points in your claim, then you can use 2 examples so you can cover it completely. Then in the conversation, as he's going to get to, sometimes you need to cover different examples that cover the same thing but from a different point of view, like Maharaj does.
Different perspective, yeah.
For addressing emotional issues.
Yes.
Right. Because when you actually have an opponent, it can take turns and you can adjust. But for the writing, you always do it as few as possible that will completely cover the whole thing. So that it may mean that there are many, but just there shouldn't be too many.
Because your essay is how many words? 250 or
200.
Yeah,
Yes.
between 200 and 400.
so? Should be concise. Yeah.
And these essay questions mainly deal with one point because there are so few words, so you don't have to give so many examples. But other times, if you're presenting a bigger issue that has more points, then you have to give more examples.
Okay, next one, the fourth one, is called Upanaya. And it means
Can you say that?
Upanaya.
Upanaya.
Upanaya. Like
UPA?
Upanaya.
NAYA.
Like Upanishad.
Yeah.
Same root. It comes from bringing closer or coming closer.
Okay.
The meaning is, okay, in English we call this further explanation. Means, Hare Krishna. This is the place where you deal with the doubts. So here you want to cover all the possible or important doubts that can appear from the first 3 parts, Pratigya, Hetu, and Udaharana.
Okay.
And you don't just, ideally, don't just smash the doubts or destroy them, dismantle them, but you try to show how the doubts are parts of something which is, Hare Krishna, is bigger, and that this bigger picture is actually your statement. You know?
Yes. Okay.
Like, for example, the Mayavadis, the impersonalists, they'll say that the absolute truth is impersonal. When you deal with this doubt, you don't just smash the doubt, but you try to show how it is true.
Yes.
One aspect of the absolute truth is impersonal, but
Yes.
there is a broader picture that you don't see. And if you want to make your philosophy perfect, you have to take in consideration my statement. In this sense, it is called bringing closer to understanding. You try to convince your opponent that your position is superior. And his position has certain truth in it, but it's not complete. So you make it complete in this fourth part. It's very important.
Yeah, so to show the validity of their statement, but then to complete it. Like that.
Yes, but if in the 3 parts before, it's, I can say, more or less clear, you know. So, doubts means about, it's not the bigger picture.
Yeah, he doesn't know
Doesn't
what is
know.
the bigger picture.
But if we follow this Panchanga-nyaya, as you say, this style, means the doubt must be not so many doubts must be there. Not many doubts must be there.
Not necessarily. Can be many doubts. You mean the doubts should be cleared by now?
Yes, yes.
Some of them will be, some of them might not be. That's why this part is here. If there are still some doubts. If there are no doubts, it's fine.
Yeah, okay.
But
So I
usually
guess
there
it
are some
helps
doubts.
you as well, because if you've gone through your three points, this is the fourth or the fifth?
Yeah, this is the
If
fourth.
you've gone through your three, and you think you've presented a really good argument, and then you discipline yourself to go into a further explanation as part of the bigger picture, you're going to actually show yourself
Yeah.
that your argument is weak or strong, and whether you need that or not. So you might show yourself it's completely strong, and you
But-
don't need to elaborate. But you might show yourself, oh, maybe there's a few things in there that somebody could pick apart in an argument. Is that what it means?
Yeah, also, that's a very good point.
And also, the doubt doesn't have to be your doubt. It could just be a common misconception. It doesn't mean that what you presented didn't make sense. It just means that some people won't like it.
Yes.
They'll have a common misconception. So
Yeah.
you're dealing with that then. So after you logically presented it, now you're dealing with the fact that there's still people that, even though it's logically presented, they still have some sort of attachment. Then you deal with that
Oh, yeah.
With different perspectives also.
in a way. But it's still dealing with the doubt. Even though logically it made sense, they want to see how practically it can happen.
So it's a doubt coming not from the logic.
No,
It's coming from other thing. It can be emotional, it can
it's
be
generally an attachment.
attachment.
Yeah, a misconception.
Yes, yes.
Good and misgiving.
Or it could just be an incomplete understanding. Like, for example, when we read the Shastra, sometimes we'll come up with what seem to be conflicting instructions on the same matter.
Yes.
So generally, someone will pick either one side or the other, and they won't address the other. So when we're presenting, we present both, and then just in case someone's still on the side of one or the other, this is where that's dealt with.
Okay.
After the logic's been completely done, how they're both there, then to bring it in just in case you're still attached to this, because it's still authorized, it's still from Shastra, but then to show how it has to be complete, like that.
It's just like Maharaj gives an example with the conservatives and liberals. Yeah, they're both wrong. But they have both certain
Valid points.
good valid points. So
But yes.
in this part you can show this. And yeah, Rupa Goswami explains these principles in Niyamagraha. Same principle. Following the rules and regulations just for the sake of following, or not following the rules. All right. And the fifth part is called Siddhanta, or conclusion, which means that you repeat the thesis.
How do you spell that?
Siddhanta. Siddhanta.
Like Bhakti Siddhanta.
I already said that.
Yeah.
My first appearance.
Okay?
And then
This
You
is the
think
thesis.
In the Siddhanta, can we, if we put the broader picture in the four, in Upanaya, in the fourth step, Siddhanta is mainly similar to the thesis.
It's the same. It's the same. Should be the same. I mean, if it's different, then we have done something wrong.
Yes.
And also the conclusion, the Siddhanta, is the place where you quote Shastra to support your case. And also here you can connect your point with different other points you want to make in the future. Because this cycle of Panchanga-nyaya
Yes.
is supposed to go on
Yes.
with the next point.
Yes. Yes.
Because
Establish
this,
the point.
yes, this Siddhanta will create new doubt.
Yes.
Can I ask you one question?
Yeah.
Are we reviewing this so we use it in writing?
This
or we
is used.
understand logic, or
This is used to
I'd
present
like to understand the application.
all of this. All of this.
We use this in writing too, when we write essays.
When you want to
etc.
present your point,
Yes.
this is how the acharyas present
Or
philosophy.
when you talk, or
Also,
when you write,
Yes.
or essay.
any kind of presentation.
Oh, thank you.
When you want to study the Shastra, then there is another system. It's called Tatparalingas. It's also part of Mimamsa, and it's accepted by the Acharyas also. So the Shastras are written in this Panchanga-nyaya style, but they are understood or interpreted in paralinga style.
It's actually part of the grade too, as Antardweep Mishai mentioned 2 weeks ago, when he went over the rubric. One of the items was actually
Sorry,
that it's
I wasn't in
presented.
the first meeting.
Oh, you
I
weren't?
wasn't informed of the second meeting.
Okay.
I was ill.
Okay, no
the first
problem.
meeting.
You can hear the audio of the previous meeting where he goes over. This is a really important one because he goes over how the essays are
Where is
graded.
the audio on the internet?
On the website, there's a special section called Mahan Karuna Nitai would be able to tell you what it's called. It's called student something. There's a special section though. I don't remember the exact title of it. But Antardweep Prabhu goes over the rubric. Have you gotten a copy of the rubric? The way that the essays are graded? The marking guidelines? Okay. So we'll have to get that to you also. So he explained that, how the essays are graded so that you'll understand.
Maybe I should ask for copies of these meetings.
Yeah.
This is on the
Because
second
I
one.
get the copies of the classes.
Okay.
So I should ask for copies of these.
Sure. Yeah, they're certainly available. Yeah. But yes, these are how the essays should be presented, just like this. That way
Because
they're easy to follow.
I'm planning to start studying
Okay.
when I go back. So
Yeah, good.
that's why I'm asking.
So this will be the format that you follow, this first one that he's mentioned
Thank you.
for the essays.
So to put like reference to the scripture, it's mainly the fifth part.
Yeah, but you could also do it all over the place. It's not necessary that you do it only the fifth part.
Yes.
You should do it at the end, but you can do it also already in the examples, all the
Siddhanta.
reasons.
You mean Siddhanta?
So now
The
it's the end.
scripture.
Yeah.
And what's
You shouldn't do it the thesis.
No. Yes, it is very, very good question. It's And what's about a personal example?
Yeah, these are the examples. You can put
This
it there.
example means example personal,
Yeah.
scripture.
Exactly. You can give example for your own personal life or realization, or somebody else's realization, or from nature, or from history of ISKCON, or from Prabhupada.
In the scripture.
Yeah. This is the first type of Panchanga-nyaya. The second one
Yes, I see.
we're going to cover is mainly used when you actually face an opponent physically or spiritually. And the first part is again the same thesis. Fortunately, here I don't have the Sanskrit references, so I have to give you just the English words. This is the same as the first one. This is your statement. And then the second one is called samshaya, or doubt. Yes. So the first statement is you speaking. You make your point. This is your case. Very short, concise statement. The second one is your opponent is speaking already. Yes, and he presents his doubt. The third one is called Purva Paksha.
Sorry?
Purva Paksha.
Okay.
Purva?
Purva
P-U-R-V-A. Paksha. P-A-K-S. Paksha.
I have the Sanskrit only for this. No, for three of them. Okay, for two I don't have. Purva Paksha means that your opponent continues speaking. He's giving his reasons why his doubt is valid and why your statement, your thesis is wrong. So first there are two theses, and then the third part, there are the reasons why he's right. The fourth one is your reply, where you deal with his doubts, you defeat the doubts.
Does this have a term, name?
It's called reply in English, but I don't know the Sanskrit. Sorry about that. Couldn't find it today.
I just asked you.
In the fifth is called nirnaya,
Nirnaya.
or conclusion, and it is the same as the thesis.
And this is basically how we deal with when there's a question in class, because a question is generally a doubt or a slight misconception. And so this is how that's dealt with.
So our Acharyas explained that no point can be accepted seriously unless it has gone through these 5 stages. And this is how Vedanta Sutra is written. Govinda Bhashya, our commentary on Vedanta Sutra, written by Baladevi Vibhushan, is written in this way. The second, especially, second type of Panchanga-nyaya. And the sutras are also actually originally composed in this way. So it's very traditionally well established, everybody's using it. All Sampradayas accept, all the Vaishnavas accept, Mayavadis are using it. Everybody's presenting philosophy in this way. All the culture, traditional schools of Indian philosophy present philosophy in this way. Okay, some questions, more questions? Because we covered our material. Yes?
I have a question, a very practical thing. A few weeks ago I did one essay in the form of a poem. Yes, what about the Shatu Shloki Bhagavatam, you know?
Oh yeah, there was
I remember, you know. So how I did the essay, I did the poem, you know, and till now I don't have any feedback. So how to use this system, one of these two in a poem form?
Myself, I'm not very familiar with writing poetry, but I guess the same principles apply. Of course,
yes, but
poetically.
Generally, it'll be stronger, your argument will be stronger if it's not in poem form, because when you're dealing with poetry, there's a lot of interpretation involved.
Yes.
So, but that's how it works, because you want to match a meter, you want to sort of set a mood. But if you're just dealing with it logically, which is what Panchanga-nyaya is doing, then someone will use that, take it apart, and say that you're saying something that you're not saying. Lord Chaitanya would do this all the time to defeat people. Right? So when dealing with logic, it's best to just present it in this way, so there can't be any mistake about it, like that. And then poetry is also very valuable, but usually not in establishing points like that, generally.
For example,
layer, isn't it?
For example, in the second canto of the Shatu Shloki, the question was about right our understanding, or less, I think, in a poem, you know. So about these 4 principles. So what I did, and we have the same thing also in the Gita also. You know? So I try to deal with like Sambandha, Stuff, Abhidaya, Vajana. I try my best, you know. But I'm very interested by this poem system, you know. And do you have any? You wrote some poem yourself?
I have.
You have some? Maybe you can share with me.
Long ago. I don't have any recent.
Yes.
I don't have any on me. Fresh
Just
out.
to get some inspiration, you know,
Did the question specifically ask to write it in poetry form?
It was the essay question. It was a choice, ordinary essay question or poem. So I selected this poem, but I was the only one to write poem.
I see. Was that Sahotra Maharaj who did that?
Yeah.
And I think so, yes. Huh?
Yeah.
So, I'm interested.
Yeah. Poetry is more, instead of establishing a point, you're more appreciating, which is also our philosophy. We want to appreciate Krishna's personality. So that's there. But then, again, that's expressing more appreciation than logically establishing something. So it's sort of a different way of presenting something.
Is there an example, the classes have been more explanations maybe. Is there an example of an essay in this manner, you know, how the logic runs anyway?
I'm sure there is. If you ask Antradeep, he can give you some.
Who can help?
Antradeep?
Which Prabhu?
Antradeep.
Oh, Antradeep.
Because he's grading essays, I'm sure he has some exemplary
Because
essays.
it would be nice
he
to
talked.
see, you
To
know,
he
a few
definitely
2 weeks ago.
examples
Were you 2 weeks
before
ago?
starting.
He was the one that
But then he disappeared.
Theory
Yeah.
is one thing and seeing
Yeah.
examples is another.
Yeah, my advice is don't
Does he teach?
try to implement everything in the beginning. Just do it gradually.
No,
It's very simple system, but you need maybe 2-3
This
essays.
is different from normal writing. Logic is a bit.
Shouldn't be different.
It shouldn't be.
It's actually more, it seems more concise.
Yeah.
It's a very high level, so you expect that you're going to be able to write 4 pages, but
Yeah,
it's
it's not different.
It's very
It'd be nice
logical.
to see somebody who's
Yeah.
a good one, somebody who's really done it superb.
Actually, I remember 2-3 years ago we had a meeting mentioning that and something else. So I have actually a few purport of Srila Prabhupada that are supposed to be example for that.
Yeah.
Gita and also Bhagavatam. Myself, when I tried to understand a few years ago the system, I worked with Takananda. We are using the example that we know that Srila Prabhupada is using. 5 steps
in purpose. Yes.
and purport, yes.
Also, verses from Bhagavatam are also following this. If you have copy of Bhanu Swami's Brahma Sutra, Govinda Bhashya,
Yeah,
they sell it. You can get a copy. The whole book is based on Panchanga-nyaya. This is his translation of Govinda Bhashya.
Govinda Bhakti.
Yeah. I guess this is the perfect example
This is perfect example
for Panchanga-nyaya,
Okay.
because it's from our acharyas, how they use it. And also get some essays from Antardvip.
Just to see.
I think even the essays will be better example because they'll be
Then
simple.
he'll have to
Yeah,
request.
essays, they're shorter, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So first you see the essays
Uh-huh.
from Antardvip, and then you go to Govinda Bhashya because there is little more complicated. This Panchanga-nyaya.
Also, in the beginning, Antardvip Prabhu gives very specific feedback
That's
on the essays. That way, for the first year, he'll give you very specific. That way, you can make improvement nicely. By the time you get to Bhagavatam, then it's more general
other
because you should
course,
understand it by then.
I stayed very short, but the responses to essays were one of the reasons I left the course.
Yeah, because if you don't
it was
get,
very
yeah.
personally, very personal.
Hmm.
I mean, it should be technical, not personal.
Yeah. Well, if it's personal and nice, then it's nice. But if it's
Yeah,
personal and negative, then
No,
it's kind
personal.
of...
If you tell somebody be sincere about
Yeah.
Krishna consciousness, then that's outrules everything else. I may or I may not be sincere. I may not know that I'm not sincere. But in the first encounter, if somebody tells you be sincere, there's not much to talk about. I'm sorry.
It seems to...
No, that's...
Yeah, I agree with you.
He can show me that I'm not sincere through indirect ways, or direct but nicer ways. I'd be very, grateful.
Okay. Thank you. Yes.
When to write a beautiful essay, do you have any tips? I can tell you, my understanding to write essays is like I always do in 5 paragraphs myself now, and I try means to harmonize a paragraph. Not to put everything in one and have to nothing. So what is your understanding about a beautiful essay? I was, I know to be concise, to be on the point is very important and beautiful. What is your understanding of beautiful essay?
What do you think?
I didn't catch the whole...
What is a beautiful essay?
What is a beautiful essay?
Yes.
In general?
Yes.
In general, a beautiful essay is one that goes through all these points, doesn't leave any room for interpretation or doubt, and does so in a pleasing way, not in a confrontational way. Not in a confrontational way, but in a peaceful way. So in other words, if If people read the essay and even though it's logical, they say, oh yeah, but this person's just fanatical, they won't listen to anything anybody has to say anyway, then they dismiss it. That's one kind. But as Pandava was mentioning on this fourth aspect, when you clear up the doubts, that you're taking what the opposition is saying, you're saying that that's good, and then all you have to do is add this, and then it becomes perfect. So you're giving them validity to what they're already presenting, and then completing it for them. So that's going to be more accepted, right? So if it's done in that way, then that would be what you would call a beautiful essay, because then it had some effect on people. Whereas another one, it could be completely logical and cut and dry, and slit throat. Anything else is obviously illogical, but that's not necessarily a beautiful essay, because people might just say, well, there's no room for me to do anything, so yeah, like that. Sure. Yes. Okay.
Right. Om Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Shri Prabhupada ki jai.